Ireland's top priorities will be the creation of a national public inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada. Ireland's top priorities will be the creation of a national public inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Canada. I'm already pleased to announce that progress has become, and an update on our progress will be provided to you by Ministers Bennett, Wilson-Raybould, and Minister Patty Hajdu, Minister of Status and Women from Thunder Bay, this afternoon. We have made this inquiry a priority for our government because those touched by this national tragedy have waited long enough. The victims deserve justice, their families an opportunity to heal and to be heard. We must work together to put an end to this ongoing tragedy. A second priority will be to make significant investments in First Nations education. This is one funding area where we know we can't afford to wait, and we won't. Every child and young person living in Canada deserves a real and fair chance at success. First Nations students are no less deserving. At the same time, we will never impose solutions from the top down. We know that this approach is wrong, and we know it doesn't work. While we share a commitment to improving education outcomes, we believe that education reforms that affect First Nations children must be led by First Nations. Third, as National Chief Bellegarde alluded to, our government will immediately, as part of our first budget, lift the 2% cap on funding for First Nations programs. As you know, that limit has been in place for nearly 20 years. It hasn't kept up with the demographic realities of your communities, nor the actual costs of program delivery. It's time for a new fiscal relationship with First Nations that gives your communities sufficient, predictable, and sustained funding. This is a promise we made, and a promise we will keep. Fourth, in partnership with Indigenous communities, the provinces, territories, and other vital partners, we will fully implement the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, starting with the implementation of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And fifth, we will conduct a full review of the legislation unilaterally imposed on Indigenous peoples by the previous government. Where measures are found to be in conflict with your rights, where they are inconsistent with the principles of good governance, or where they simply make no public policy sense, we will rescind them. And I know just the Minister of Justice to keep an eye on that. These are just 5 of the commitments we've made as part of our efforts to repair this most important relationship. There are many other actions we will undertake, from partnering with First Nations as we review and monitor major resource development projects, to providing significant new funding to help promote, preserve, and protect Indigenous languages and cultures, to working together on essential infrastructure projects from water to roads. But in every instance, we cannot do this alone. We need your help and leadership too. We cannot close the gaps between the First Nations experience and those of others without a collective, collaborative, nation-to-nation approach like the one that resulted in the Kelowna Accord. As leaders, that is a responsibility we share.